There you go.
What does it work?
Just one click.
Just one click.
Yeah,
Cannot go back, right?
No, but just say to them if you want to go back.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me all right? All right. So I'm Peter Obrador. I work at Natural Machines, and we are the makers of Foodini. During the presentation, we're going to print a dish so that you can actually appreciate how it works and what the user experience is like. After the fact, we'll be in the innovation area so that you can stop by and take a closer look. All right? So let's just take a show of hands. How many people do know what a 3D printer is? Some people don't know. Just going to take a few minutes to take a look. So imagine that you print. A simple way of understanding what a 3D printer is. Imagine that you print the word hello on a regular inkjet printer or laser printer. Imagine the paper gets stuck and starts printing the word hello over and over again and making a 3D version of ink going all the way up. This is a very simple way of understanding 3D printing. It can become much more complicated than this. But this is very similar to what we're doing. But we're not using plastic. We're not using metal. We're using actual fresh ingredients to print real food. Okay? So in this way, you can see how we print the base of this shell on the left, and we start building the walls of the shell, and eventually we start garnishing it. Misconception that some people have is that the 3D printer will print your food and then you eat it. Sometimes it's not like that. You might actually have a chef down the line that actually garnishes the food as part of another more complicated, more sophisticated dish. And maybe we can switch to camera now, and we can see our chef, Tim, actually garnishing some prints that we did earlier this morning. This is the empty shell, and there's Tim actually garnishing one of them. So the 3D print is actually something that complements a more complicated dish, not necessarily the final dish. Yeah, let's switch back to the presentation, please. So this is what it might look like in the end. We'll take a look at what Tim does for us at the very end of the presentation, and you'll be able to stop by afterwards. So these are actually already being used in different Michelin star restaurants. And sometimes they use one, sometimes they use two. They can use all the way up to 5 we've had. It depends on the throughput that you need. It depends on how many people are dining and how many you want to be serving these specific dishes that are printed. You might actually be eating at a restaurant that does printed food and you don't know about it. This is not such an outlandish idea. A lot of the pre-processed foods in the supermarkets comes out of something similar to a 3D printer, even though it's very normal shapes that you can do. So what we have done, in a way, is taking this concept and shrink it into a home appliance, like that one we have there. Let's take a look at what Foodini is actually printing at this point in time. Let's switch back to camera, please. So this is a home appliance. It's printing an avocado dish right now, which Tim is going to garnish for us afterwards. And what we have here is a kitchen appliance which is food grade, food safe, easy to clean, right? Let's switch back to the presentation, please. So you're going to say, oh my God, this is like the food capsule thing, and then you're going to have to start buying and purchasing pre-filled capsules. No, it's not. So the whole point of Foodini is that we want to be able to print dishes with fresh ingredients, fresh food, seasonal food. We don't want to use pre-processed ingredients. You go to the supermarket shelves, and sometimes you don't even know what you're buying. There's preservatives, there's colorants, there's all those E-something something, which we never know exactly what it is. With Foodini, you can use your own fresh ingredients. It ships with 5 capsules made of stainless steel, food grade, food safe, which you can actually dishwash. Very convenient. Stop by later, you'll take a look. And we can print many different types of ingredients. We have all the way from 0.5 millimeter nozzles, all the way up to 8 millimeter nozzles. So we can print a huge diversity of ingredients. Each of the capsules has a resistance, coupled with it in order to heat it. So certain ingredients need to be printed at a higher temperature so that you get the right viscosity so that you can push it through the nozzle. All right, so that all that is taken care by the computer inside Houdini. For instance, we can print couscous. This is non-blended couscous. This is just regular couscous with all the ingredients in it, pushed through the nozzle of 4 millimeters. So no tricks. We can print mincemeat through the nozzle of 4 millimeters. And we actually also printed the burgers, and then we printed the dough for the buns. The dough is a little bit more tricky. So then we use the 8 millimeter nozzle to print the dough. And then you have your homemade burgers printed on Houdini. Houdini ships with 5 different capsules. All of 5 can be accessed inside Houdini. So you can have 5 different ingredients being printed on one single dish, like in this example, without the need of changing the food capsules. So what are our vision? Our vision right now, we're working with chefs, Michelin star chefs, other more creative chefs. But in the end, we think that this could be an appliance that sits in every kitchen. Not unlike the microwave, actually took about 30 years to be in 99% of the kitchens around the world. We think that this could happen a bit faster just because we are more technology savvy nowadays. This could take 10 to 15 years. And this actually removes the need for us going to the supermarket and getting some frozen food or some pre-processed food. We don't have time to cook anymore, but you could access Houdini remotely. It's an Internet of Things appliance. You can access it from work, start printing on it, and when you get home, you have everything printed, and you don't have the uncertainty of what is it exactly that you're eating because you have been using fresh ingredients, and you know exactly that they're healthy. What are the chefs using this for right now? I'm going to give you some examples. This case, this is a fresh cheese spiral. So try doing this by hand. It's not easy. It can give you all these decorations for free. This is a main dish designed by one of our collaborators. And basically, you're just supposed to scoop the little bread around the thing. So it's much nicer to do this. It's more visual than just having a little chunk of cheese in the middle. Another thing that we're doing, we are printing on top of other dishes. The printer comes with a computer vision system and artificial intelligence that identifies where the food is inside the printer so that it goes automatically on top of it and start printing the design that you selected on top of that piece of bread and prosciutto. You can do 2D designs. You can become as creative as your imagination lets you. On the left, we have a porcini mushroom, cream shaped in the shape of a mushroom. On the right, we have a guacamole tea, which is actually the logo of a restaurant. So you have a dish in a restaurant with its own logo. Productivity is also interesting because this printer can do many of these honeycombs at the same time. It can do up to 5 if you put them right, if you design your 3D model right inside the printer. So which means you can print 5 at a time, so it's very fast. It's not easy to do, but at the same time, you can increase productivity in your kitchen. Creativity, it's all about creativity, it's imagination. So these are the tiles that you find in Barcelona sidewalks. So one of our collaborators actually was walking down the street one day, and he looked at the design, and he thought, wow, maybe we could do something like that. And he talked to Victor, our 3D chef, my collaborator sitting down there. And in less than one day, they came up with a 3D design, and it was in their menu, which is this. This is a chestnut cream based on sweet potato and pork fillet. In less than one day, they had this created from scratch. All the chefs want to be different from the next guy. What about children? This is a spinach quiche. So we did the experiment. We gave a spinach quiche to the kids, and they were like, oh, I don't like it, or whatever. Then we blended the whole thing, shaped it with Houdini into the shape of dinosaurs. Dinosaurs went extinct so fast. We are working with hospitals. There's lots of patients with dysphagia. You know, they cannot really eat properly. They cannot chew properly. It's complicated. So in the end, they are eating mashed potatoes and mashed creams, but at the end of the day, eating that in a bowl is really boring. So hospitals have found that if you shape that same puree into interesting shapes, all of a sudden they like it better and they don't get bored of the food so fast. Some chefs want to conscientiate their diners about where the food is coming from. Like this tuna dish is served with some fresh cottage cheese in the shape of the fish spine, just to remind the diner where the food is coming from, similar to this lobster. So again, creativity. This is the butter. This is actually the shape of Obama, the president. Obama's head. That was one of our clients that wanted to have a conversational piece for one dinner. And they said, could we do something like that? Because, of course, instead of having like a chunk of butter on the table, they had Obama's head. And definitely the conversations started right away. And then whatnot. You have Valentine's Days, you have Christmas, Carnival. These are actual cookies printed on our printer. So again, I think the message that I want to give you is that imagination is the limit, and we're going to find out what our chef is being doing. Can we switch to the camera now? Tim, you've been working with 3D printers for 24 hours already.
I have.
At first you were a little bit kind of scared or frightened.
Never come across it before. So it was a completely new concept. But now, to create something with such intricate detail, time and time again, a wow factor on the plate, in a busy kitchen, it's not going to happen. But with this, it takes an element out. Every time it looks the same, and that's the important thing. You've got a table of guests, 3 people have ordered the same dish. It's really important they all look the same. And, well, the picture's there. It gives it to you every time.
Thank you. And as I said, we will be at, I think it's in the first floor. Stop by and take a look close by, because it's fascinating to see the Foodini printing in real time. Toby?
Thank you. I think we've got, I'm going to take the liberty just to ask one quick question before we thank Natural Machines. One of the areas that our industry is often sort of really interested in from a cost point of view and doing the right thing, and shoppers are also interested in, is sort of food waste. So do you actually see sort of a device like this in restaurants, quick service restaurants or wherever? Do you see it as sort of a help or a hindrance to food waste?
We've actually been asked that question a couple of times, and some of our investors are actually pointing in that direction. This actually is a good thing for food waste, because you can reduce food waste by a big deal. The fact being is that sometimes little pieces of meat or fish that are left close to the bone or to the fish bone are thrown away just because it doesn't look so nice as in a high-end restaurant to put as a meat fillet or a fish fillet. You can actually use that. And of course, in restaurants, they still use that to make broth or things like that. Yeah. But with Foodini, what you can do is you can take all that extra fish that doesn't look really nice to being served on a dish and print something that looks really fancy and is going to be very visually attractive, and still reuse all that food as prime food. We've actually done some calculations with restaurants, and we think that you can actually afford a Foodini just with the food that you don't throw in the course of a year.
Wow.
So it's actually very beneficial in regards to food waste.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering my question. Hope everyone found that equally as interesting as I did. And if you could all join me in giving a warm round of applause.